What's going on, guys? Tyler here from Don'tPanicDoThis.com, the site all about helping you to beat panic attacks and anxiety. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about post-panic attack recovery. So this is the stuff that you should do after a panic attack. Now, a lot of times people are talking about what to do during a panic attack, what to do before a panic attack, how to prevent panic attacks, stuff like that. Not too many people talk about what to do after a panic attack, so that is what we're going to cover today. After a panic attack, a lot of times, you just burnt off all this energy. You'll be feeling most of the time pretty fatigued, burnt out. Maybe you have a lot of questions, especially if this is your first panic attack. You might be wondering, what the heck just happened? Is this going to happen again? Am I going to spend my whole life feeling this way? So this video, I really want to focus on the things that I think are so important to do immediately following a panic attack. That way you can help put yourself in a better position, get something out of the panic attack so that next time it's not quite as bad going forward. So in this video, we're going to have a complete 8-step process of everything I think that you should do following a panic attack to recover the best way possible, as fast as possible, and make sure that your future panic attacks are not as bad. So let's get right into that. Step number 1, just understand what a panic attack is. So if this was your first panic attack, you're probably gonna have a lot of questions. The first time I had a panic attack, I literally thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was gonna die. I was probably 15 or 16 years old at the time in high school and early high school. And I had never even heard of a panic attack. I had no idea what was happening. And this made the recovery from it really difficult because I had more questions than answers. Nobody told me that was just a panic attack. I had no idea what had happened. I was hyperventilating on a couch for I don't know how many minutes, 10 minutes, maybe more. It felt like forever. But long story short, if you don't already know what a panic attack is, the first thing you should do is take some time to understand what a panic attack is. There's other videos on this channel and there's other posts on the website, Don'tPanicDoThis.com, that really go into detail about what panic attacks are, what panic disorder is, why we feel anxiety. So if any of those things you're not 100% sure about what they are, why we feel that way, take some time out of your day to just read those things, watch those videos. That way you really understand going forward, because that's the only way you're going to be able to beat these things long term, is if you really start by understanding them. Now, if you've never had a panic attack before, just to give you a quick summary of what they are, they usually last about 3 to 10 minutes in my experience. Some people report them lasting a little bit longer, but a panic attack is a pretty subjective experience, so it's hard to slap a label on where it starts and where it ends. Everybody kind of evaluates their anxiety differently. I don't think I've ever had one last more than about 10 minutes, even on my worst points of my life. So I think most of them are over in a matter of minutes, even though a lot of times it can feel much longer. It's sort of, the way they feel is just like a super intense bout of anxiety. You feel like you're gonna die. You feel like you have to escape. You feel like you're going crazy. Your heart is racing. You're hyperventilating. It feels like you're not breathing enough. All these are signs of panic attacks, and that's just something to understand going forward. If you don't, watch some videos on that. I've already got a bunch of videos, a bunch of articles on that stuff. Read up, make sure you know exactly what you're dealing with going forward. It'll make everything easier in the future, I promise you. Step number 2, you are going to want to embrace that rest and digest phase. Now, what I mean by this is when you're having a panic attack, your body is kicking you into fight or flight mode. It thinks that there's a threat. It thinks you're in danger. So your sympathetic nervous system kicks in. Your heart is racing. You're breathing hard. Your blood is pumping harder than usual because you're in fight or flight mode. Now, the good thing and the thing that I want you to focus on is that when your panic attack is over, your body is basically switching you from fight or flight mode into rest and digest mode. So what this means is you're going to have a little bit of a reprieve from your anxiety. You're going to feel fatigued. You're going to feel burnt out because your body just burnt a ton of energy, as if it was preparing you to escape from a predator or something like that. So you're going to feel a little fatigued, but honestly, I would look at that as a positive. Like, this is now your body calming you down. You're in the rest and digest phase. Your body is ready to relax. It just burnt a ton of energy. It probably doesn't even have the energy to panic again. I have very rarely had back-to-back panic attacks. It's usually like you have one bad panic attack and then afterwards you start to feel calm and you're relaxed. And the idea of a panic attack seems a little like, wow, what was I really freaking out over? But basically, that's step number 2 for you. Just embrace that rest and digest phase. Just take that reprieve for what it is and allow yourself to relax, knowing that you just burnt off all that extra energy. You're going to have a few minutes to just calm down and be okay. Your body isn't going to be able to do that all over again. It's tired. It's relaxing now. So embrace that. Embrace the rest and digest phase. Step number 3 is going to be a big one, and that's going to be to change your scenery after a panic attack. So what I mean by this is if you had a panic attack sitting in your living room, After your panic attack, maybe get outside, go for a walk around the block, go to the beach, do something, just get yourself out of that situation. That way you can help mentally and physically just that transition into the next phase and put that panic attack behind you. So if your panic attack was outdoors, maybe go inside and relax for a little while. If your panic attack was indoors, go for a walk, get outside, do something else. If your panic attack happened in a social situation, maybe just take some time to be alone for a little while. If your panic attack happened while you were alone, maybe reach out to a friend and do something social and get out of your head for a little bit. Whatever your situation was, change your environment up and help yourself transition to the next sort of putting that panic attack behind you. Step number 4 is going to be a huge one, and this is to establish a calm down ritual. So this is going to vary greatly from person to person. I can give you some ideas, but really it's going to incorporate whatever you find relaxing. So we've already talked in other videos about different kind of coping mechanisms that you can have, things that help you to calm down generally. That could be stuff like meditation, yoga, any sort of physical or thought process that you associate with getting yourself to calm down during a panic attack. Now, this is when you want to try to create a habit, a calm down ritual around calming down. You want to train your body and your brain to know that when you do a certain series of things, that means it's time to calm down. Just like when you put on your running shoes and your gym shorts, your body kind of starts to know, like, okay, it's time to go to the gym, gets a little amped up. This is sort of the opposite of that. You're teaching your body, like, okay, it's time when I do these things. Maybe you brew yourself a nice cup of herbal tea, you sit on your favorite armchair that's nice and comfy, you put on your favorite TV show, you meditate for 5 to 10 minutes, stuff like that. You're gonna want to create a calm down ritual, just a series of activities that kind of are gonna trigger your body, that over time from doing these things over and over again, your body and your brain is gonna learn, like, okay, when you do those things, that means it's time to relax. And by establishing this calm down ritual, it will help your body switch into that rest and digest phase that we talked about just a little bit more easily when you do those activities. So what I mean by this is having a cup of passion flower tea or something like that is definitely by itself going to relax you. Meditating by itself is going to relax you. Sitting in an armchair might not by itself relax you, but if your brain starts to associate that armchair with, okay, every time so-and-so is in that armchair, they're having a cup of tea, they're meditating, eventually you're gonna pair that stimulus, the armchair, with the ability to relax, and over time just that armchair is going to become relaxing to you. So you want to incorporate things like that, sort of like giving a child their favorite teddy bear when they're crying. The teddy bear itself isn't a relaxing thing, but because it's the child's favorite toy, that in and of itself will be learned as something that can relax the child. So that's sort of what you want to do. You want to establish a calm down ritual. This is going to look different for absolutely everyone, but over time, your brain is going to see those things and say, okay, it's time to calm down. So get your calm down ritual right. Just pick a couple of things that are relaxing to you that you do every single time you're coming down from a panic attack or need to relax during a panic attack, and establish that calm down ritual. Next up, step number 5, enjoy your favorite snack or drink. So this can kind of be a part of your calm down ritual, because especially if you're having the same snack or drink every time you're finished having a panic attack. But basically all I'm saying is, like, you burn so much energy during a panic attack that you're going to be fatigued and kind of tired and all that. So have something enjoyable, have a food or drink that you like. This is also going to get your brain releasing endorphins, which are going to help boost your mood and make you feel a little bit better, and also just return that energy that you just depleted, so you're not feeling quite as fatigued. I wouldn't recommend something overly sugary or processed or unhealthy, because those do contribute to feelings of anxiety. But if you try some of the foods that are typically good for people with anxiety, I have another whole article on that if you wanted to check that out, dieting for anxiety. Stuff like that. Have some foods that are healthy and that are going to help you kind of recharge and feel better without necessarily causing you to feel jittery or anything like that. Step number 6, we want to investigate what caused your panic attack. So this is going to be really important going forward. You want to understand your panic attacks, just like step 1 where we make sure that we understand what panic attacks are. You also want to know what caused this particular panic attack. Now, for some people, this can be super obvious, especially if you have a specific fear or phobia. If you had a panic attack right before stepping on stage and giving a speech, okay, that's glossophobia. You have a fear of speaking in public, most likely, and that is what caused your panic attack. However, if your panic attack happened completely randomly without you being exposed to any sort of phobia or thing that you typically fear, it might take a little bit more investigating, especially because the cause of your panic attacks can be, stress that builds over time. So you have to really be kind of introspective about this and examine what's going on in your life. What have you done differently? What could have caused this anxiety to become so severe to manifest itself in a panic attack? Now, something else that experts recommend is the HALT method of perspective of looking at it, which is look at your mental state as potentially being affected by whether you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So a lot of those things in and of themselves are not going to cause a panic attack, but they can cause a lot of the stress that can contribute to it. So make sure your mental state is okay. You're not hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These things can cause you to be a little bit more stressed out, which can ultimately be the straw on the camel's back that gives you a panic attack. So try and figure out, after this panic attack, try to figure out what just caused it, because that's going to help you in the future when we go to exposure therapy. We want to take the anxiety head on down the road, and you're going to need to know sort of what caused it. That way you can address that fear and not have it trigger panic attacks in the future. Even if, and sometimes for people with panic disorder, it's just the fear of the panic attack that's causing the panic attack. If this is your first panic attack, it's probably not that. But if you regularly have panic attacks for seemingly no reason, that probably could be panic disorder, just the fear of panic attacks themselves. Whatever the case, figure out that source of your panic attacks, because later on it's going to come in handy. You're going to want to know exactly what caused it so that we can address it head on through exposure therapy. Tip number 7 is huge, and that is to journal your experience. So now what I mean by that, write down how you feel during, after, maybe even before the panic attack. Put a date, put a time, write down how long the panic attack lasted, write down what helped you end the panic attack, what you think caused the panic attack. Write down, the more the better, because this is going to really help you to completely understand the source of your panic attacks and understand what coping mechanisms work for you. And by doing this, even though it feels a little silly and tedious, it really is going to be effective, because over time you're going to be able to identify exactly how to get your panic attacks under control, and it's going to work. So what I mean by this is, just during the panic attack, everything feels so serious, and you feel like you're gonna die, you feel like you have to escape, you lose all logic. Everything becomes irrational. Your thoughts are all emotional. There's no logic working in your brain at all. Yet afterwards, during this post-panic attack phase, a lot of times we start to think logically again, and we think like, wow, that was pretty crazy, wasn't it? I was acting a little silly. Like, I really thought I was gonna die for a couple minutes. I don't know about you guys, that's usually how I felt during my panic attacks. Once logic returned, I kind of realized, like, wow, I was losing it for nothing. Like, what was I thinking was going to happen? I'm just sitting here. Eventually my breathing is going to go right. Why would I worry? Those rational, logical thoughts, write those down, because later on when you're having a panic attack, go back to them and realize, like, oh, I have felt this way before, and then a few minutes later I realized how silly it was. This is no different. So just by journaling it, you're going to be able to see patterns in how this stuff happens, what's helping you calm down, how you feel during it, after it, how silly it was, how logical you feel afterwards. These patterns are going to make it that much easier that when you have future panic attacks, you're just going to go like, okay, I've been here a million times before. I know exactly what I'm going to feel before, during, after. I know exactly how to get them under wraps. I got this. So definitely do that. You don't necessarily have to have this big physical journal. If you do, that's great. But you can even just take notes, jot them down on your phone. But just journal it, take notes, however you want to, and over time you're going to see patterns, and it's going to make it easier for you to deal with your specific panic attacks. Step number 8 is the final step I have for you guys, and it's just to recognize a few of these simple facts. And those 2 facts are to remember that 1, panic attacks are very temporary, and 2, panic attacks are completely harmless. So I know that those sound obvious to you right now, but during a panic attack, those things do not seem obvious. You really do feel like it's going to last forever. You really do feel like you could die from it. I don't know why it is that we have these, you can have 100 panic attacks and still think during your panic attack that you're going to die, even though you've been here a million times before, 100 times before, and nothing bad is going to happen, but it doesn't feel that way in the moment. So I really want you to remember those 2 facts. Write them down in the journal like we talked about in the last step. And I want to emphasize this, like, remember how temporary they really are. Not only are they not going to last forever, but they're only going to last realistically a few minutes. So I even like to challenge people, like, time it. Set a timer during your panic attack and write that down in the journal. Write it down. Say your panic attack lasts 3 minutes before you're reasonably calm and in that post-panic attack state. Say it's 3 minutes. Okay, write that down. Next time, maybe it's less, maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but whatever it is, you have a realistic time frame that you can look at. And hey, don't even think about anything else. Just look at your watch and say, like, hey, I know I'm feeling bad, but usually this takes about 3 minutes and it's over. So just watch that hand go around 3 times and maybe it'll be over then. Like, it's not going to be all day. It's not going to be forever. It's extremely temporary. So I just want you to remember that fact. And the same fact with it being harmless. Take note of how you feel after the panic attack. Are you any worse for wear, really? Did anything long-term bad happen to you? No, you're completely fine. You felt uncomfortable. You didn't enjoy it. You maybe, worst case scenario, were in an embarrassing situation, but ultimately you're fine. It came and went, same as it always does, same as it always will. So just recognize those two facts, keep them in mind. Panic attacks are temporary and panic attacks are harmless. And that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you for sticking to the end. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what works for you. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys do for your post-panic attack recovery. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? Have you ever tried journaling your experiences? Is there a certain pattern that you see? Let me know, guys. Thank you so much once again for sticking to the end, and I will see you next time.